We measure historical power in the square footage of empires, but sometimes absolute supremacy is mathematically much smaller. Exactly 10.5 centimeters tall, 4.1 inches. That is the exact height of the most arrogant, captivating piece of bronze to ever emerge from the human antiquity. Created between 2300 and 1750 BC using the sophisticated lost wax casting technique. She was forged in the Indus Valley Civilization, city of Mohenjo-daro, located in the modern day Pakistan. In 1926, a British archaeologist named Ernest Mackay was excavating the HR area of the city when he pulled her out of the dirt. She is a nude young woman adorned in stylized ornaments, standing in an incredibly naturalistic, confident pose. She represents one of only two bronze figures found at Mohenjo-daro that exhibit such fluid, flexible features compared to their usual rigid formal poses. Her anatomy is a masterclass in aesthetic rebellion. Both of her arms are unusually long. Her left arm is heavily armored with exactly 24 to 25 bangles, while her right arm wears a mere 4. Her left hand rests casually on her thighs, gripping an unidentified object. Her right hand is plenty firmly on her grip. A necklace bearing three large pendants rests against her chest, and her long hair is swept up into a massive bun resting heavily on her shoulder. When the archaeologist John Marshall first saw her, he was staggered. He admitted he found it difficult to believe she was prehistoric. He described her as a young girl in a half impudent posture, with her legs positioned slightly forward as if she were beating time to the music with her feet. In 1973, the legendary British archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler declared her his absolute favorite statuette in the world. He estimated her age to be no more than 15, noting that she stands there with bangles up her arm and nothing else, perfectly confident of herself and the world. But was she actually dancing? The American specialist Jonathan Kenoyer challenged the narrative. He argued that calling her a dancing girl is nothing but a colonial British perception of Indian dancers. Kenoyer believes she is not dancing at all. She is merely a woman carrying an offering. Yet, institutions like the National Museum of India stubbornly continue to identify her as a dancer. Gregory Poschel delivered the ultimate philosophical verdict. He called her the most captivating piece of art from an Indus site, stating, "We may not be certain that she was a dancer, but she was good at what she did and she knew it." Whoever she was, her existence proved two monumental facts about the Harappans. They possessed extreme expertise in metal blending and casting and entertainment, specifically dance. It was embedded in their culture. She had a sister of sorts. During his final full season in 1930 to 1931, Mackay excavated a house in the DKG area of Mohenjo-daro and found a second bronze female figure. But Kenoyer believes this second figure is also just carrying an offering, and her preservation and craftsmanship are vastly inferior to the original. She currently resides in the National Museum of Pakistan in Karachi. Because after surviving the earth for 4 millennia, the dancing girl had to survive the bureaucrats. Following her excavation, she was initially deposited in the Lahore Museum. Later, she was transported to the Archaeological Survey of India headquarters in New Delhi. The British Raj was planning a grand central imperial museum for their new capital, intending to display a selection of these finds. But then came 1947. Indian independence approached, but the violent reality of partition was utterly unanticipated. The newly found Pakistani authorities demanded the return of all Mohenjo-daro pieces excavated on their soil. The Indian authorities outright refused. Finally, a clinical mathematical agreement was reached. Roughly 12,000 objects, mostly shattered pottery sherds, were split equally between two bleeding nations. The division was so ruthlessly literal that ancient necklaces and girdles were physically broken apart, their beads separated into two different piles. When it came to the two most celebrated sculpted figures, a geopolitical trade occurred. Pakistan asked for and received the famous priest king. India retained the much smaller dancing girl. Today she stands in the National Museum in New Delhi, but despite the 1947 agreement, Pakistani politicians have repeatedly demanded her return. In 2016, the audacity reached the courts. A Pakistani barrister named Javed Iqbal Jafri petitioned the Lahore High Court. He claimed she was taken from Pakistan 60 years ago upon the request of National Arts Council in Delhi and never returned. He boldly declared that the dancing girl was to Pakistan what Da Vinci's Mona Lisa was to Europe. However, the Pakistani government has never made a formal public request to India for her return. Why this endless geopolitical obsession over a 10.5 centimeters of bronze? Because she was not just a statue, she was a civilizational icon. Hundreds of miles away from Mohenjo-daro in the Fatehpad district of Haryana, India, archaeologists excavated the Harappan site of Birrana. They found an engraving on a piece of red pottery. L.S. Rao, the superintending archaeologist of the ASI, observed that the lines etched into the clay, the exact stance, the precise disposition of the hands were so devastatingly accurate that the craftsman in the Birrana must have had first hand knowledge of the dancing girl. The British Raj tried to frame her, modern nationalists tried to divide her, but a girl who is perfectly confident of herself and the world belongs to no one but history. Subscribe to Purva Rhythm to connect the dots and detect the context.